Good evening, Mustang Ohana. Welcome tonight to our virtual back to school night. We're so glad that we have you here, and we're happy to welcome you to our school, even though it's virtual this year. We thought it was a better idea this year as COVID is still an issue at our schools, that we do this in a virtual manner. And so we're going to walk you through some information about our school today. I'm Ben Faubert. I'm the principal here at Mountain House High School. And again, we're happy to welcome you here today. I'm going to turn on some cameras here and introduce you to a couple of folks who are here with us tonight. We're so glad that they're here tonight. So first of all, we have our associate principal, Brian Shum, there at the bottom of the screen. Brian is back with us. He was an original faculty member here when we opened the school 8 years ago. We're happy to have him back as an associate principal. Then straight up from there is Mr. Kamal Panu, who is here. He's one of our vice principals. Alini White is directly above that. Good evening, Alini, and she's one of our new vice principals. She has previously been teaching at Cuesta Elementary School, and we're so proud to have her here as part of our, not Cuesta, Altamont. We're so proud to have her here as on our team. And finally, a member of our team who's been here for a while, Ms. Karen Perez is here with us today. She was our alternative education coordinator last year and is now our vice principal of alternative education and student services. So we're proud and glad to have all of these folks here with us tonight. We have a couple of things to present to you, and so I'm going to turn their cameras off real quick, and they'll come back on when it's their turn later in the presentation. So a little bit about agenda tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about communication at our school and how you can get communication from us, our grading practices, our intervention procedures, which we call success period, some restorative practices, a little bit about our online pathway and our online courses here at Mountain House High School, activities in athletics, about COVID and safety, and then how to access your teacher videos for the remainder of back to school night. So before we get into the meat of the presentation, I just wanted to welcome you again and introduce you to our school. You'll see some nice pictures up here of all kinds of stuff that goes on here on our campus. This is our 8th year of operation. We opened in the 2014-15 school year with 469 89 students, and this year we're almost to 2,000. We are a mastery-based learning environment. Brian Shum will talk to you a little bit more later about that mastery-based learning environment. We have lots of opportunities for students here. We have 8 CTE pathway, career in technical education pathways. We have face-to-face classes. We have a hybrid pathway, an online pathway. There's opportunities for students to take the early college pathway at our school, where they can receive both a high school diploma and an associate's degree from Delta College. We have a work-based learning alternative education option for students who need credit recovery. We have lots of clubs and organizations. You'll see pictures on this slide from our speech and debate club, from our leadership team. We have tons of sports opportunities and visual and performing arts opportunities, and all kinds of other opportunities for our students that will enrich their lives as they go through school here at Mountain House High School. While we can't really tell you about every single one of them here, what we do encourage you to do is take a look at our website. There's all kinds of information there where you'll find all about our clubs, organizations, teams, and have your students listen for announcements and take a look at your email consistently for those announcements. So in regards to that, let's talk a little bit about communication. You'll notice at the top of the screen here is our website address, mhhs.lammersvilleschoolddistrict.net. For the most part, you can get basically links to everything that you see on this page, and to get information about our school, including calendar activities. Our newsletter is on our homepage. There's all kinds of calendar information and links to all of these things, but I'd just like to point out a few, especially if you like push notifications coming to you on a regular basis. You'll notice over here that our newsletter is an online newsletter. We do not send it out even in PDF form. We daily sometimes update that newsletter, And you can go to this website, mhhsmustangmessenger.blogspot.com, or you can see our newsletter on our homepage. The other things that I would draw your attention to is we do have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter page, we have an Instagram page, and we have a LinkedIn page. And those are updated regularly, almost on a daily basis, with push notifications about all kinds of things that are going on at school. So we encourage you to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We encourage you, at the beginning of the year, Aries is important to do your data confirmation, but there's information in there that you can get. Parent Square is our new communication network that also pushes out notifications to students and parents. So we encourage you to download Parent Square and find Mountain House High School and add us to your Parent Square app and turn on notifications, and you'll get all the notifications through there. Canvas is our learning management system. As many of you know, we are an electronic school. Much of our curriculum is online, and the majority of it will come out through Canvas. Those students who are online or hybrid students will also be interacting with curriculum through our Ingenuity website, and Karen Perez, our Vice Principal of Alternative Education and Student Services, will be talking a little bit more about that later. We do encourage you, though, to find the best way that you like your communication. Parent Square is probably one of the best to go. You can ask it to send you emails or text messages or whichever way you would like, but we do have plenty of ways for you to get information about what's going on at school. So next, I'm going to invite our Associate Principal Brian Shum onto the screen, and he's going to talk a little bit about our mastery-based classrooms.
All right, thank you. So my job tonight, and I want to thank you for joining us virtually tonight to learn a little bit more about the high school. My job tonight is to tell you about the mastery-based classroom and how grades are earned and how students achieve what it is and how they're showing that in the classroom. So we do use a mastery-based learning system at the high school. And the first step in that is students they have an objective communicated to them. So it all starts with a learning objective. And one of the unique things about our high school is that the teachers here actually have a period during the day that's dedicated to collaboration with other teachers who teach the same thing. So they get to talk a lot about what is important in their class. They get to exchange teaching strategies, and they get to look at what's working and what's not, and are continually improving their teaching practice. And so their first job is to really think about what it is that students are supposed to learn from each of their individual classes, and they carefully define that. And it comes down to a set of learning objectives that are communicated to students. So each one of those learning objectives becomes a daily lesson. And once they've communicated that objective, their job then is to teach the material and get students involved in learning it. And at the end, they then assess if the students learned it or not. So they're able to tell who achieved that objective, who did not. And one of the unique things about a mastery-based classroom is that those students who don't demonstrate proficiency of that objective the first time, they're not invited, they're required to come to some sort of intervention. So we have a success program that Mr. Panu is going to talk about, but teachers also build an intervention into the classroom. And the whole idea of this is that we don't want students to fall behind. So we're carefully looking at that student progress, and we're carefully looking at who's attained competency on the different objectives and who has not, and providing intervention and supports for those students who don't quite get there. And the whole idea of a mastery-based classroom is so that at the end of the day, grades reflect student learning. And there should be a clear, undiluted measure of what students can demonstrate in the classroom on those different objectives. So it's a very competency-based system. That's how they earn their grades, is those performance on those objectives. So there's a lot of intervention for students who don't meet the objective. And one of the other focuses of those PLC groups, those collaborative groups that our teachers meet in, is also what we do with those students who already meet that proficiency and already attain that competency that we want to see. So one of the things they talk about and focus on is how do we provide additional supports for those students so that they can move forward and participate in things that expand their own understanding and expand upon their interests in the classroom as well. So it's a pretty unique set up, and it's supported through the collaboration for teachers and through a lot of the supports and interventions that we have for students. So next I'm going to talk about how specifically grades are determined in the classroom. So we do use a 4-point grading system or 4-level grading system to determine if students attain competency or not. And our goal is always to get as many students to proficient as we possibly can. So when teachers determine what that objective is, they sit down, they talk about what are going to be the best teaching strategies for this given objective to get the most students to that point. So to score at that proficient range, that's that level 3, that means the students' responses demonstrated no major errors or omissions regarding any of the information or processes that are taught. So again, the goal is always to get as many students as possible to that point. To get up to that next level, that advanced category, and that would correspond to an A grade in the class, that means in addition to exhibiting that level 3, so meaning there's no major errors or omissions, the students' responses go beyond that, and they're making some in-depth inferences and applications that go beyond what is explicitly taught in the class. So this means that not only do students understand the major concepts of whatever objective it is that they're focusing on, but they can take those and actually apply those, usually in a real-world type situation. So to get to that level 4, it is pretty rigorous to get to that point. So from the proficient up to the advanced, they're having to make those in-depth inferences applications. So again, our target is always proficient. We know that not all the students get there at the same time. They don't always get there using the same path. Some students need more support. So the level down from proficient, that's a basic understanding. That's a level 2. That would correspond to a C in the class. And that means the students' responses indicate major omissions or errors regarding the more complex ideas. But they show some understanding, some of the major ideas of the concepts. So they're missing some of it, they got some of it, they're not quite up to that level of proficiency yet. So in this case, the teacher might provide some interventions either in the classroom or they're inviting them to success period. For example, a student who takes a test in the class, let's say they score with that basic category, they get a C, they could come back in the success period, retake that test, and earn a higher grade on that if they're able to demonstrate a higher competency. Then below that basic category, that means the student provides responses that indicate a distinct lack of understanding or knowledge of the skill. So the student's not yet at the point where they're able to demonstrate that competency. So at this point, they're required to come to some sort of intervention, whether that be success or another intervention that the teacher is providing. And we require them at that point to come in, and the teacher will work closely with the student and provide focused intervention on those skills that they're showing the distinct lack of understanding in. And the whole idea at the end of the day is to get as many students to proficient as possible. That's always our goal on those standards that the teachers have identified as the most important in that class period. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the retake policy. Ben, you can go to the next slide there. So we do have a school-wide retake policy. And again, the whole purpose of this is we know that not all students move at the same pace. Not all students learn in the same way. So it may take some students a couple more opportunities to get to the same competency that some other students are achieving the first time around. So we have 2 different assignments in our grading categories. One is the mastery assessment preparation assignments. Those count for about 10% of the grade, or not about, they do count for 10% of the grade. And the whole purpose of these assignments is to get students ready to take the mastery assessments. And those are the ones that really gauge if a student understands the objectives. So these could be daily practice, could be notes, different small activities that they're doing in class to help them learn those concepts. So just because they're only 10% of the grade doesn't mean they're important. These are actually very important because they're helping the students understand the material as they go through it. So one important thing to understand, though, is that MAP assignments are not eligible for redo or late turn-in. So these things are important for students to complete as they go through the learning process, because it's part of that process that happens in time to help them learn those concepts. So MAP assignments are not eligible for redo or retake. The ones that are, though, are the mastery assessments. And these are the assessments that teachers build into the curriculum to really determine if students are understanding those essential concepts or not. So this could be in the form of projects, it could be in the form of tests, it could be in the form of essays, could be a final exam. So these are assessments that the teacher is giving specifically to see if they've reached that level of competency that we're looking for. So there's two different categories when we look at a redo for the mastery assessments. The first category is students who do not achieve proficient on the assessment the first time around. They have the ability to redo or retake it. So these are students who score at that level 2 or that level 1. So that's a C, a D, and F. So these students can come in. All of our teachers have some form of error analysis that those students would do. So they go through some sort of process where they're doing some error corrections on that test. They're looking at some of their mistakes. They may be working closely with the teacher in small groups or in a success period. And then when the teacher determines they're ready, they do a redo or retake of the same assessment. And they have an ability to score higher on it. So that's the first group of students, those who score proficient. The second group or category of students are those who already achieve proficient on one of those mastery assessments. So those students don't do a redo or retake. What they have is another opportunity to demonstrate advanced competency. So this could be something completely different from that original assessment that they took. And the purpose of this is, if you think about going from that level 3 to a level 4, those students not only have to demonstrate competency at that level 3, but they have to go beyond that to reach that level 4. So teachers, when they're providing that advanced competency opportunity, they're looking specifically for that. Can students apply this in a way where they're demonstrating that they can go beyond that level 3 knowledge? So our main focus is on that first group of students who don't get to proficient yet. Those are the ones who need the most support, but we're also providing those opportunities that are important for those students who want to go above and beyond and demonstrate that advanced competency. So that's how the redo retake policy works, and that's how students earn their grades. So next up, I'm going to turn it over to Camel, and he's going to talk specifically about our success period and how some of those interventions work for those students.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shum, and good evening to our Mountain House Mustangs students and families. So one of the things that we've rolled out over the last couple of years is our success program. Our success program goes hand in hand with our philosophy that if a student doesn't achieve mastery, that we want to do everything in our power to help make sure that they understand the content and then give them another opportunity to demonstrate their mastery or proficiency. Success is an integral part of Mountain House High School. Again, it's part of our philosophy. It's academic time that's actually embedded within our school day. So this is a 30-minute chunk of time that is every single day. It is part of our master schedule, and it is considered academic time. It also can be used as time for teachers to do dedicated check-ins, support, and enrichment. But the idea is, and behind success, is that if a student is struggling or needs an opportunity to come meet with one of their teachers, that they use our program, which is called Flex Time Manager, to log in, and then they can select the class that they need that additional assistance or support in. So students are able to log in every day. They get to check if a student, has that opportunity and say, wow, I really need some help with some math concepts. I can schedule a time to go meet with my math teacher. Then the student able to do that on their own accord, but also at the same time, teachers can schedule students to come in. So a student may log into the program and say that his science teacher or her PE teacher has requested that for them to come in, and then the students know that they need to check in with that teacher. Other opportunities is that success can be used for enrichment. We have tons of clubs that are on campus, and I also want to make sure that if anybody is curious about the clubs we have, to check out our webpage. But students are using success time to meet with clubs. also to have informational meetings about activities that are going on. Our leadership students just the other day had a success session set up. But the idea is that this allows students to have opportunities to not only dictate and pick where they want to focus their academic time, but also they can use it for enrichment as well. This is very similar to what they will need to do in colleges and universities. Similar to how professors have office hours, success is that dedicated time where students have that choice to go see and to make arrangements with their teachers about where they want to go. And then I can go to the next page. One of the other things that I'm responsible here is the COVID and safety plans. Over the last couple of weeks, you have seen the communication we have sent out to the community about our COVID-19 guidance and safety plan. We are committed to keeping Mountain House High School safe as possible for our students, our staff, and our community. In turn, we are still enforcing our mask mandate. Anytime a student or a staff member or any individual on campus is inside of a building, they need to have a mask. Students that do enter campus that may have forgotten their mask are provided with one. We continue to clean and sanitize our campus based on our cleaning schedule. And all of our COVID-19 guidance, including up-to-date information on our latest information from the California Department of Public Health and San Joaquin County Department of Public Health, is listed on our website as well. In terms of our overall approach to safety, this is something that we will continue to update our community. We did have a safety meeting right at the beginning of school. And as more information continues to come to us and the situation remains fluid, we'll continue to update our community. And now I'm going to throw it over to Ms. Perez.
Thank you. So I'm going to be talking about restorative practices and discipline on our campus and what we do for that. And then I'll talk a little bit about our online pathway and independent study program. So discipline at Mountain House High School, we like to follow restorative practices. We're really trying hard to implement those on our campus. And the purpose of restorative practices is here in this chart. It's to address and discuss the needs of the school community, build healthy relationships between educators and students, to reduce, prevent, and improve harmful behavior, repair harm and restore positive relationships, resolve conflict, and hold individuals and groups accountable. So students who engage in behavior that negatively impacts our campus and our learning environment here, we will hold restorative circles, and students will repair harm that they've done and caused to others. That's the focus of the restorative practices, and we basically see it as a whole like school relationship approach. Our administrative team is out every day at lunch working on building those relationships and hopefully through that reducing, preventing, and improving behavior on campus. Online pathway and online courses. So you may have your students enrolled. You'll see on their schedule a class with the class code. It'll say OP or OC. And that means they're either in the online pathway or they're just taking one or maybe two online courses. So if that is seen in your student's schedule, those courses will be accessed through Ingenuity. And your student should have a login for that. And all the teachers today will also have presentations available for more detailed information on that. As parents, what you should know, and Mr. Faubert mentioned earlier, as far as communication, you should be receiving daily progress updates via email from Ingenuity. They typically come around 4 o'clock in the morning, so that right away in the morning you could check your students' progress and see how they're doing, and maybe encourage them to make some goals for the day on getting their work done. Next is students. This is kind of new this year. Students must stay on pace on a daily basis and are required to come to class as assigned by their teacher. We gave students a lot of flexibility in the past to kind of complete the courses at their own time and their own pace. But what we found is that created a lot of stress for students down the road. So we're really working hard to require students to come to class on a daily basis and stay up to date with their courses. If you, for whatever reason, are not receiving those daily parent updates from email from Ingenuity, please reach out to your students' online teachers and request that they send you the daily progress reports.
All right. So I'll be talking to you guys today about activities and athletics, and Mr. Panu already mentioned that we have tons of opportunities for students to get involved. Our philosophy, students are in school to learn, therefore academics always comes first. Maintaining academic eligibility is the student's responsibility, not the coaches, teachers, or parents. So please encourage your students to talk to the teachers, make sure that they're completing the assignments and being proactive. We want to promote school spirit, so encourage all to join a sport, a club. If you don't want to join, come and support those that have joined. For our athletes to participate, they need to sign a code of conduct. They have to complete the athletic clearance, and they need to keep a 2.3 or higher at the end of each quarter or semester to be eligible. Also, attendance is important. They need to be going to class and being on time. And you should have received, if you are already participating in a sport, student parent handbook, it should have a signature. For our clubs, our extracurricular activities, your academic needs to be at a 2.0 at the end of each quarter or semester. You need to also be in class and attending class and being on time. And also the parent needs to sign the parent handbook. Our expectations for our students, for our athletes, be the best you can be every day, in every way, on every play. You can find more information on our website under the athletics, and we have the handbook. You should be able to read through in the entire thing. This is just a snippet. So we will be sending out lots of information and updates via the website or on our social media.
I'm back to talk about how to access the teacher videos. So as much as we appreciate you tuning in tonight to check us out, we know that we're probably not the main draw here. As much as you like to hear administrators talk, like you want to hear from the teachers. So despite it being a virtual event this year, we did want to have a way for teachers to be able to reach out to you and for you to be able to learn about some of the individual classrooms and expectations and guidelines that the teachers provide. So each of our teachers did put together a video, and we asked them just to provide, basic information about their classroom, how to get in touch with them if you have concerns, and just where to find different information from those courses. So we're going to share a resource with you. It's coming out through Aries Communication. It's on the high school homepage, and I'm also adding it to the chat right now. There's going to be a link to it. And on that document, you're going to be able to click on those individual teacher videos. So every teacher here has a video associated with them. You'll see that some teachers have several videos that go along with them. So most teachers were able to put the information in their classes into one video, but there were some teachers who teach courses that are quite a bit different. So like an AP course versus something that was completely different, and they put together videos for each of their courses. So you can look at the title of the video as well as the courses taught to identify the best video to watch for those individual teachers. So we're encouraging you to check those out. Take the time to watch the videos that each of the teachers put together. Each of them are about 5 to 10 minutes long, so it'd be about the length of the presentation that our teachers would do at a normal back to school night anyway. So as you watch those videos, if questions come up about those particular classes, we encourage you to reach out to those teachers individually, and probably the best way to do that is through email, and those teachers will get back to you with responses to those questions. So again, that's going to be coming out through Aries Communication. There's a link to it. It's also on the high school homepage, and I just posted a link to it to the chat and YouTube Live as well. So at this point, we are going to open it up to overarching questions. So if you don't have questions about individual classes, this is the point where we can answer some big overarching questions. So you can feel free to post those in the chat, and we'll take those on.
Yeah, so our Vice Principal, Karen Perez, is going to be our moderator and ask our questions, and then we'll take turns answering whichever ones we feel are necessary in our different areas as administrators. So Karen, take it away.
All right, first, someone's just given us some love. They gave us a little heart emoji, so I want to point that out. But the first official question is, what made you change the redo retake policy this school year?
So I can take that one. I think I'd like to characterize it as less of a change and more of a refinement of the redo retake policy. I think that we're still allowing all of our students to reach the highest level of competency, which is advanced. Basic level competency is what is achieved when students consistently demonstrate their ability to master the concepts at a proficient level. When they're proficient, we're comfortable with their understanding. Advanced means that a student can go from that proficient level to applying all of those concepts in multiple different contexts at an advanced level. And we believe that in the past, with students just retaking a test was not sufficient enough for us to actually designate that the student had attained an advanced level of competency, that there is a different level of demonstration that needs to happen going from proficient to advanced. And so that is the refinement in the policy, to have students demonstrate their advanced competency in a different way. And that will be deemed differently by departments. And so the departments, you'll see in their videos, will detail how students will be able, who are at the B level or the proficient level, how those students will be able to go from proficient to an advanced. And so it's essentially the redo retake. A teacher does have the right to deem what that redo or retake is. And it means that redo or retake may not be just a retake of the test. It is a different demonstration of their level of proficiency or level of competency going from proficient to advanced.
Thank you, Mr. Faubert. Someone is requesting just posting the link to the teacher's videos in the chat, if that hasn't been done yet, if somebody could take the lead on doing that. The progress reports for Ingenuity, if you are not receiving those, make sure you just reach out to the teacher and request that they send those to you. Will there be a PSAT on campus this year?
Alini, why don't you go ahead and take that one?
Sure. So the PSAT will take place October 16th on campus. I believe it's the 16th. And the SAT will also take place. It will be the second and third weeks of May. I'll make sure that I had placed information in the blog, but I'll make sure to put it and send it on Parent Square as well.
Great, thank you. Looking at the questions, and sorry, I may be missing a few here as they're scrolling down, so we will get back to those shortly. The next question I have is, what should be the expected response time from administration when parents send emails requesting information this year?
The expected wait time typically is 24 to 48 hours. I would ask a little bit of patience in the first 2 weeks of school. As you can imagine, with 2,000 students, it's overwhelming when we're changing schedules up until right before back to school night to balance all of our courses. But starting, I would say, next week, you can expect a 24 to 48 hour response from anybody that you send an email on our campus. And if you're having trouble getting a hold of somebody, please contact an administrator.
Okay. And what is the plan for community service hours that students need to earn? Is that something the school will help with? Also, the clubs that were shown, are those? Yeah, go ahead.
Campbell, why don't you take that?
So the counseling department will be sending out information in the next week or two regarding community service. During the pandemic, we did make some changes on what was considered community service, based on the situation. Now that things have opened up a lot more, we'll be sending updated communication on what counts as community service and how students can log that in into the ARI system, and therefore they can see how many hours they need. So please stand by for that information.
Okay, and will Mountain House High School be requiring vaccinations for the students now that the vaccine is no longer emergency authorization?
Camel?
I can answer that one as well. Currently, students that are vaccinated, we are encouraging those families and students to send us that information so we have it as part of our record. Any updates that we have in terms of vaccination mandates will be communicated out by the district. But as of right now, if your student is vaccinated, please do send that information over to us. It definitely helps in regards to our contact tracing and responding to any COVID issues that come up.
And I'd like to add, we're directly following all recommendations of the State Department of Health and the County Department of Health. So right now, there is no mandate for students to be vaccinated, but things could change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kids who completed their Math 1 course over the summer were given Math 2 honors course, but some kids who are in accelerated math, sorry, it scrolled down too quickly. Some kids who are in accelerated math for 6, 7, and 8 were not given the chance to take those courses. And they are, the parents are just wondering why that might have happened.
So I would encourage you to call your counselor in that instance. It's a very detailed question. That's not really a global question, but if you have that question, if that's you, please, I encourage you to call your counselor and figure out what happened there.
Will cash or check be accepted for lunch money this year? Do you have the drop-off box for lunch money like before?
Yes, there's a drop-off box for lunch money in the main office. But as you probably already know, meals are free for all students this year, except for the extra items like bottles of water or some of the other drinks. But for the most part, meals are free.
And on that note of lunches, it seems like the wait time to get school lunch has been an issue. What, if any, changes will be made to ensure all students get lunch during the lunch period?
I would love to answer this one. The first day, it was an issue. Right now, it is not an issue. The lines are probably through, what would you say, Camel, in about 20 minutes. We've got all the kids through, and there's about, I don't know how much longer for lunch.
Yeah, today we were joking with some of the kids because we had so much extra time. But within 20 to 25 minutes, all students have their lunches served, and we made changes already.
All right. Is the grade still weighted on 90% tests, 10% assignments? If so, what if a student doesn't test well?
Brian.
Yeah, I can address that question. So it's weighted 90% for mastery assessments and 10% for mastery assessment prep assignments. So that 90% isn't necessarily tests. Those could be any type of activity that the teacher is doing to determine if the student is demonstrating competency. So it could be things like projects that are more long-term. It could be essays. There's a variety of ways that teachers are engaging student understanding. So if a student doesn't test well, there's usually a variety of ways that they can do that. And a lot of students actually, or a lot of teachers actually give students choice in how they're going to demonstrate their competency of the different standards. So that's one answer. And another answer is if a student doesn't test well, they do have the ability to redo and retake. So they can go in, they can work with the teacher, and they can work through the redo retake process and see if they can score higher on it. And the teacher is going to give them support to do that.
Thank you. Somebody is asking if they made a request to change their course and they didn't, that course wasn't fulfilled, they didn't get that course. Is there a way that they could find out why they did not get that course?
They're welcome to ask their counselor. Typically, the counselor will explain why. Typically, it's because either there's not room in the class or because it wouldn't fit in their schedule because of a conflict with another class. So but the counselor can detail exactly why. But all of those course requests have been processed at this time. Counselors processed thousands of course change requests over the last 2 weeks. So great job, counselors.
Okay. And can you speak on the credit versus letter grade email the parents received? Would receiving credit only affect their college acceptance in universities outside of California?
Well, it could also affect college acceptance at private schools within California. So it really just depends. I would, for a parent and a student who is concerned about that, the recommendation is for you to directly call the schools that you are interested in applying to and ask them what their policy and procedure is in relation to these credit, no credit grades, so that you can ensure that you're making the right decision for your student.
Mr. Penu, is there a place that parents should be uploading or sending the proof of vaccination?
Yeah, if you go to our COVID-19 guidance page on the website, the address is there for the attendance office. You can send a screenshot of the vaccination card and they will upload it into the file.
Okay, and if they got vaccinated during summer, should they send the proof?
Absolutely.
All right. Today, there are 4 cases of COVID in students and 2 cases in staff. What measures are you taking to keep the rest of the students and staff safe?
We continue with the safety protocol that was approved by the board and that is also recommended by County Department of Public Health. It's the protocol that we had been using when we opened up last year during the pandemic, and we continue to, we're in this constant discussion with the County Department of Public Health. We're going to still follow our protocol and do our notifications in addition to update our COVID dashboard that's found on the district website.
All right. And if parents are seeing that teachers did not publish correct breakdown of mastery assessment weightage, is there somebody they should be reaching out to for that?
I would contact the teacher first and ask about it. Sometimes it might be a misunderstanding of how they have it, because within that 90% category, there could be multiple different things. So the assessment category is 90%, but that category can be made up of projects, tests, presentations, and multiple different things that are deemed mastery assessments. Those are all part of this assessment category, because remember, an assessment is not just a paper pencil test. So it could be, you might want to read carefully and see, oh, maybe these are all of the things within that 90% category that add up to the 90%. The 10%, again, the mastery assessment preparation, that's what you'll see as like the homework that comes home every day, or maybe the practice quiz or the check for understanding. Those are the things that belong in the 10% category. And that other 90% category can be broken down into weighting projects more within the 90% than a paper pencil test, than a presentation. So I'd look at it carefully and just ask the teacher how they came up with their breakdown. And if there is indeed a problem with the way that the teacher has detailed it and it's not consistent with our policy, reach out to the vice principals. And the vice principals do have a letter breakdown that is posted on our website by last name.
All right, there are a lot of questions about PSAT and SAT. I just posted on parent communications the letter that was posted in our blog, so make sure you check that out. There's a lot of important information there. For 8th and 9th graders, you will have a chance in the spring. For now, we're asking only the 10th and above if they would like to take the PSAT in October. And it costs $20.
And do students need to take the PSAT first, or could they just take the SAT?
They can just take the SAT. We're just trying to prep them. So
the only difference is 11th graders who take the PSAT. It's when they take it as an 11th grader, it makes them eligible for the National Merit Scholar. program. So if you are an 11th grader and you want to be considered for National Merit Scholars, you do need to take the PSAT in your 11th grade year.
Great. I saw a question earlier asking about the different grading metrics on Ingenuity. There's 3 different percentages. There's the overall, the actual, and the relative grades. So when you get your daily email progress reports, if you go to the bottom of that email, there's a link to say, it says like, click here to understand the Ingenuity grading metrics. So you could do that, but just so you know, the grade you should be paying attention to as your student works their way through the course is the actual grade. The actual grade takes into account their progress, where they should be in the class at that time. And it also takes into account the work that they've completed so far. So it takes into account progress and pacing. The relative grade starts at 0% and only goes up as students complete work. And the relative grade is the grade the student will have at the very end of the semester, because it takes into account zeros for any incomplete work or tests. And then the overall grade is just the grade the student has based only on the work they've done so far. So if they've only done 1 or 2 assignments, but they're behind in pace, their overall grade will only show the score for the work that they've done so far. So at the very end of the course, once all the work has been completed, all the assessments have been taken, all 3 of those grades will be exactly the same. But as your student works their way through the course, pay attention to actual grade, and at the very end of the course, pay attention to relative grade.
Can I saw a question earlier that maybe got skipped over. It says, how accessible are the counselors to the students? Do students address their concerns, their questions and concerns to the counselors only? Karen, can you answer that one?
Counselors are accessible. So if you go to the counseling page on our website, you'll be able to locate your student's counselor based on their alphabet. And your student could make an appointment to see their counselor. So things that are said in counseling appointments, students one-on-one, they are confidential. Our counselors have a duty to maintain confidentiality between the student and the counselor, unless there's a few unlesses. So unless the student is in danger, at risk to hurting themselves or hurting someone else, or there's a case of abuse that needs to be reported for our mandated reporter guidelines. And in those instances, the counselor would need to report directly to CPS. And in the event like a student was in danger to themselves or others, the parents would be notified and they would be looped in on that for support. So yeah, please feel free, like if you go to our counseling webpage, you could reach out to your counselors by their last name Alpha. They're available. They've been swamped with schedule changes and things like that these first few weeks. So I hope you could give them some grace in getting back to you if the emails are lagging. But they are available for all students, and they're available for parent questions and emails and stuff too.
I think the other thing that's important to note is that if a student is in crisis and they need assistance right away, the counseling office is open all day long. There is a secretary that sits right outside the counselor's offices. And if there's a student who needs to see a counselor right away, counselors are available for students.
Okay. Will their students have a homecoming dance this year?
Yes. Alini.
Yes, we will have a homecoming dance. They're working all the details, so more information to come.
All right, and athletic clearance, we've uploaded the athletic clearance on the website, but it's still showing not cleared, and we didn't get any follow-up regarding this. Whom should they contact for an update?
They need to contact Mrs. Nunn, the athletic director.
Okay. AP chemistry is not being offered this school year. If students want to take it from outside, can it be articulated?
So AP chemistry is typically right now offered every other year because we don't seem, it's like one group, the group of students takes AP physics and then the next year they take chem or what, vice versa. So if they take, students can take courses outside. We don't currently have an articulated chemistry, AP chemistry course, but they can take it outside, and there is an outside course approval form that they need to fill out, and then the counselor will approve that so that when they take it, then it will count as a similar type of class, but it will not be placed on the transcript.
Okay. Many teachers' retake policy has significantly changed and conflicts with the school grading policy. Teachers are putting a cap on what a student can get in retakes.
Brian, you want to address that?
Yeah, so there was the modification to the redo retake policy that Mr. Faubert talked about, and I talked about in my piece too, where students can do a redo retake if they score below proficient. Those students who score in the proficient category already have an opportunity to score to the advanced category, but they do that with some other demonstration of that. So I think what may be interpreted as putting a cap on some of those scores is teachers are allowing those redo retakes, but then they're offering the advanced opportunity to those students as well to earn that higher score. So I would reach out to those teachers individually to get clarification on that.
I would add too that opportunity to go from a B to an A on the individual unit exams can be an opportunity to boost that grade later in the semester through other assessments. So it may not be an opportunity to go, after the first time to increase your grade until a later date. And so again, it's a department by department thing. And so every student who receives below an A does have the opportunity to reach the A by the end of the semester for all of their unit exams, but it may take some time to demonstrate in a different way. If they get a B the first time, especially, or if they don't get an A the first time, it takes some time and some intervention and visits to our success period and enrichment in order for them to get to that point. And I would encourage you to look closely at the department policies to determine the way that students can do that.
Ms. White, do students need to have their medical clearance done before trying out for a sport?
Yeah, you cannot practice at all. You cannot be out there until it is cleared. So if you're planning on playing basketball, softball, you need to make sure that you have all your clearances done prior to tryouts.
Okay. And can a student take part in multiple clubs? For example, if they were in speech and debate, will they be allowed to also take part in Hackathon?
Absolutely. They just need to make sure that they know how to get their schedule straight and make sure that they are talking to the advisors in order for them to participate in all of the things that they want to do.
Okay. Can a student take world language outside school, and will that credit be added?
That's a great question. We have several language schools that we partner with to provide outside language school credit. It actually shows up on a student's transcript at Mountain House High School, but those language schools do need to have an agreement with our school and verify their curriculum through our school before the principal of the school will verify those language schools. I believe there are 3 schools that have gone through that process. There's a Tamil school, there's a Telugu school, and there's a Hindi school. And there is information on our website about all 3 of those. I believe it's also in our course catalog, and the names of those schools are in there. If your student is part of a different school with a different language, we would encourage you to talk to the administration of that school to reach out to us, and we can go through the process to approve those credits as well.
Okay. And it seems Cordis is, I think, quarantining teachers as well. Is the same policy for Mountain House High School? Is it depending on vaccinated versus unvaccinated teacher?
We follow the guidelines that were approved by our board, and again, we're working in tandem with the County Public Office of Health. We follow their quarantine guidelines, and those individuals that need to, we follow up with them individually.
Okay. And somebody's asking about if OC students have the class at the last period of the day, can they leave early? We want to let you know we'll be sending out an email tomorrow to clarify the policies for students that have OC courses and how they can, like what the policy is about leaving early. So we will clarify that for everyone tomorrow. We see that that's a question coming up.
I do want to add to that is if your student does have an online class, if they are required to check in with a teacher, they need to attend that teacher's classroom.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be in that communication. There will frequently be times where an online student might need to show up, especially in world language. There will be many times where a student will need to show up for an online course because you can't get feedback on spoken language as well as all of the assessments that they have to take.
Okay. And Mr. Shum, how is the GPA calculated based on the 4 levels of grading you shared? Is there any better B or lower B, etc.?
Right. That's a good question. There is no better B or lower B. There is no plus or minuses in the grading. So teachers award or students earn an A, a B, C. There are no plus or minuses. So the GPA is calculated based on that.
All right. For the parent conferences in October, are those going to be in person or online?
To be determined. It depends. Our parent-teacher conferences before COVID took place in the large gym where there were lots and lots of people, and I think it will just depend on what the situation looks like. And we're actually looking at a possibility of those being more success conferences for students who are struggling in class, and then asking parents of students who are doing fine in the classes to reach out at a different time. So we have to figure out whether COVID's going to allow us to do it and what really works best for you as parents and for the teachers as well, so that we use our time wisely.
Okay. And if a counselor is inaccessible, then who should they reach out to?
Like in the moment, I guess in the moment, there are adults all over campus. I think, again, a student can come down to the office, and if they need to see somebody, we'll find somebody. Many of you might not know, but Karen Perez has a PPS credential, was a former counselor as well. All of us administrators have been trained to intervene with students in crisis as well. And even our classified personnel have the ability to, bring a student in and help them in their time of need, and then get a counselor for them as soon as possible.
Yeah, we'll also be opening a wellness center on campus, and once that's open and running, the students could also go into the wellness center, and that will be staffed. So why is one of my child's courses not showing up on Canvas?
Brian?
That's a good question. If they had a recent schedule change, sometimes there is a lag in the time that the course does take to show up in their schedule, but it should be in there within a day or two. If it still doesn't show up, I would have the student reach out to the teacher. And if the teacher needs assistance with that, there's always tech support that they can get. So the first step would be to talk directly with the teacher. And if you don't get a response from that, reach out to one of the vice principals.
All right. Mr. Penu, Mr. Faubert, are you going to enforce the order that the California Department of Public Health has issued that all the teachers are going to need to be vaccinated? Governor Newsom has also issued this mandate.
I'll answer that. I said before, we're going to follow all mandates that the California Department of Public Health gives us, as well as the county Public Health Department. Right now, I believe the deadline, I can't remember whether it's September or October sometime, but there is a deadline for teachers to receive their vaccination, and the district is currently in process of notifying all teachers that they must provide their proof of vaccination, and the district is following through with that.
Okay, and do we have participation opportunities for students to participate in Olympiad?
Science Olympiad.
Yeah.
Science Olympiad is going again this year, and there will be, I would say, make sure you're on Parent Square. There will be information about Science Olympiad soon. We do have a very well-known Science Olympiad team, and so we're going to continue that. We actually have a couple of teams here at the high school, and we're going to continue that this year.
All right. Mr. Panu, if a vaccinated and masked student came in direct contact with someone who has tested positive, would they still be notified of exposure if you have their vaccination record on file?
Yeah, so if the student meets the qualification of being exposed, they also will be notified, whether it's a non-exposure letter. For any incident that does happen, we do take that into account, and then we notify the families and the student.
Okay. Is it possible to make lunch longer, longer to 40 minutes? Students are having to leave Success early to get lunch to avoid the long lines.
As mentioned earlier, we made changes to our schedule, and students have more than ample amounts of time to have their lunch. With like today, they had 25 minutes extra left over.
Yeah, I would say, I know that concern has come through a number of times in the last week. We've gotten emails about it. Again, only the first day was the day that we had problems. We have had no other days at all where students didn't have 20 minutes or more to eat lunch after they had purchased it. Are the lines long? Sometimes they are, but it does not take them very long to get through them. They move fast, and if they move too slow, you'll see the principal behind the counter serving food.
So just clarification again about the PSAT exams. Is it only for 11th graders, or 10th graders can also take it? And will we be sending out more information?
Yeah, I just updated the parent square. That is the initial information. More information is coming. Hopefully the next week, I'll be sending out more information about that.
But yes, 10th graders can take it.
Yes.
It's the 8th and 9th graders that are waiting to take it in the spring.
Correct.
So 8th graders that are coming to the high school to take Math 1, do they need to submit a vaccination proof?
If the student is eligible and is fully vaccinated, they should send that over. Send it over to the elementary school. But yeah, if you send it over to our attendance office as well, that definitely can help.
Okay. Will there be AMC 10 math this year?
No, we will not be proctoring the AMC 10.
Okay. Does the vaccination mandate for teachers extend to substitute teachers?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. A nice compliment from somebody about the job that the teachers here at the high school are doing and the administrators. Thank you so much for that. In what ways can students get enough points for graduation?
I'm assuming that that's a question about the credits. So the number of credits a student needs to graduate high school is 230. Am I right, Karen?
230, yep.
230 credits for graduation. They have to take a certain number of credits in each area. Because we have the opportunity for up to 7 class periods each school year, they have more than enough opportunity. Even if they only took 6 classes a year, they have more than enough opportunity to attain all of those credits. And it's the job of the counselors to ensure that they know what the student is looking to do, both during high school and after high school, to make sure that they get the credits that they need. It's the student's job to do the work. So all of our counselors print out and analyze every single transcript. Your student has a counselor assigned to them. They analyze those transcripts on a yearly basis to make sure the student is meeting the criteria that they need for graduation and acceptance into college.
Okay, thank you. If a student is required to quarantine due to COVID exposure, will the student be able to switch to online classes immediately, or is there a distance learning option available under MHHS?
So because we utilize Canvas every day on campus, students continue to do their work, and they would just need to check their notifications from their teacher via Canvas so they can stay caught up with their material.
Okay. Can 10th grade students change their pathway after 10th grade?
I'm going to assume this is asking about the CTE pathways, and the answer is yes. We do not have a closed pathway system here like some schools do. If you're you know, if your 10th grade student isn't enjoying the pathway that they're in, they're welcome to change. However, there might not be time to complete the entire pathway before they graduate. Most of our pathways have at least 3 years to obtain the cord by graduation. Some of them have 4 years of courses in order to complete the pathway. So you just need to take a look at the pathway. If it's important that you finish the pathway before you graduate, then I would take a look at that. But if you take, for example, 2 years of culinary and you no longer want to finish the pathway and you'd rather go for business, you're welcome to take the next 2 years of business. However, you may not finish the pathway.
Can a student take Math 3 as a 9th grader somehow?
Typically, in our system, no. Our district has dictated the acceleration pathway for students, and that acceleration pathway starts at 6th grade math. If they're identified for 6th grade acceleration, they take 6th and 7th grade math in their 6th grade year, and then in their 7th grade year, they take 7th and 8th grade math. And then in their 8th grade year, they take Math 1 at the high school. And the highest math that most students will take is Math 2 in the freshman year, two or two honors. Occasionally, there is a student who comes from outside of our district who has taken opportunities elsewhere to accelerate their math, and they're above that, but it's very rare that that happens, nor is it needed. A student who starts in Math 2 as a freshman can make it through all the way through our highest math class. And in fact, a kid who starts with Math 1 their freshman year can also make it all the way to AP Calculus.
Thank you. Can a student who has off-campus lunch privileges take lunch back for a sibling?
Repeat the question.
Oh, yes, I'll repeat it. I'm sorry. Can a student who has off-campus lunch privileges take lunch back for a sibling?
I mean, students are encouraged to bring their lunches to school if they want to bring them from home. I also worry about, you know, as has come up in this conversation about enough time to eat. So if somebody's leaving to go off campus and then to come back and to feed somebody else, I worry about having enough time to eat. But students are highly encouraged to bring their own lunches from home.
Okay, thanks. There was a question about the procedure for joining a HOSA club, and it looks like Mrs. White has put the link to do that right there in the chat. So you could see that information. Let's see, for early college with major pathway offered with Delta College, is there a guarantee for the major in participating UC or CSUs with the TAG, the Transfer Admission Guarantee Program?
You want to answer that, Karen?
Yeah, let me read it again. Okay, so for early college with major pathway offered with Delta, is there a guarantee for the major in participating? So I'm a little unclear if the student has already signed a TAG agreement with Delta or not. So I would advise to check in with your counselor because it's probably on a case-by-case basis, and I don't know the details of what your particular TAG agreement is. So it's best to check in with your counselor here at the high school, or if you're in early college, you could also reach out to one of the counselors over at Delta to answer that question.
Karen, can I jump back? The HOSA club, there's 2 HOSA clubs. There's a parent booster group, which is what Mrs. White just posted. So parents, if you're interested in joining the booster club that supports HOSA, if you're talking about students joining HOSA, the students who join HOSA are our students in the biomed pathway. So they'll automatically become members of HOSA in that pathway. Whether they compete or not is up to them to become active in the club and express an interest to the teacher that they want to do that.
Can an engineering pathway student join HOSA, Mr. Faubert?
That's a good question that I don't really know the answer. I would ask the lead HOSA teacher, which is Ms. Olson. Kristen Olson. She would have the best answer to that. And Mrs. White, I would, the parent that asked that question, reach out to Mrs. White. She's over clubs and organizations. She can find the answer for you as well.
Right,
there was a skipped question too about the languages offered at Mountain House High School, and are there honors options for them? So we offer Spanish, French, and Mandarin Chinese currently. The honors options happen at the upper level when you are able to take AP classes. So we do offer AP Spanish and AP French, and eventually we will offer AP Mandarin as soon as the levels go up that way.
Okay. Miss Aslami, one of our counselors, was actually here on the chat, and she mentioned that no students cannot do tag. They have to apply as a first-time freshman. So that's great information. Miss Aslami knows a lot about early college, and you guys are all welcome to reach out to her for those questions too. Okay, so if a student is placed related to the Math 3 requirement, my son finished geometry in grade 8, was offered Math 3 for grade 9. Is it something I should discuss with this counselor? I think Math 3 may be high for grade 9. Yes, reach out to your counselor. That's always the best start to questions like that, depending on your child and where they're at. So that would be a good place to start. We've heard earlier that SATs will be removed for all students. Are colleges still accepting SATs?
So colleges are accepting the SAT scores, but many are saying they're not necessarily using it as a qualification for acceptance. You're not required to provide an SAT score. Again, I would check with the specific college or university that you're inquiring about and see what their policies and procedures are about achievement testing like SAT and ACT.
Okay. And related to course requests, could students change their courses at the semester? And also, are counselors still accepting course change requests currently?
So course change requests are currently closed. The deadline closed. It was advertised for quite some time. So there are no change requests at this point. There is an opportunity, and the course change request does open back up again at the beginning of the second semester. However, there are very few options for students to change classes. Typically what happens is a student who has 7 classes drops down to 6, or they drop and they try to add an elective course that they can hop into the middle of. But even the elective courses can be very difficult because they are sequential courses and a student has missed the whole first half of the year. So typically it's very hard to actually jump into a class because we do not have very many semester-long courses at all.
Will Chinese 3 be offered next year?
Yes.
Does Mountain House High School have a swim team?
Yes.
Can kids do any computer certification outside of the high school, and does it count as credits?
So our computer science program does have some certifications that they run students through. It doesn't, I don't believe the certifications carry credit on the transcript, but what it does do is there are several classes on campus, not just in computer science, but in a lot of our career technical education pathways, that once they complete the course here on our campus, they automatically get college credit. All they have to do is pay for the credits. So our digital arts program has credits that they can obtain. Our culinary arts program has credits they can obtain. I believe our computer science program has it. Our biomedical science program has it. And several of our other CTE pathways have opportunities for students to purchase credit upon passing the classes here on our campus.
Okay. And somebody was mentioning, they had a comment about the HOSA again and the policies for joining that club. And so I think Ms. White is going to put together some information and send that out about the requirements for joining different.
Well, I would like to, you know, again, a judgment of fairness is somebody's opinion. But I'd like to draw attention to the fact that our career technical education programs are required to have a career technical organization that they're attached to, and there are limits and criteria that are set to those CTOs, and so that is why our biomedical our HOSA club is likely limiting it to those students because of those CTO organization requirements.
All right, thank you. Will we have in-person sessions to support college application process?
The counselors over the course of the year also do individual success sessions where they'll bring in cohorts of kids depending on where they are in the college process, or even informational sessions for different colleges and universities. So, your student can be on the lookout for that announcement.
And they typically also send home a communication to students and parents saying, hey, we're doing our workshops during success. So at that time, you would talk to your student about logging into Flex Time Manager and signing up for those success sessions so that they can get help. And I believe they do some after school workshops too. Wajima, maybe if you're on there, you can
She said that they will have success workshops.
Perfect.
And do we have a chess team here at the high school?
We had a chess club, and I think if a student is, it's no longer active, but I think if there are some students that are interested, then Mrs. White would be a good person to check in with, and Mr. Feinstein, who was our leadership teacher, about starting a chess club again. And I believe we still have all of the materials from the chess club somewhere on campus. Mm-hmm. Dr. Sue from the CSD donated them to us several years ago.
Nice. If students are playing sports and the games start before school ends and they need to miss 2 periods at the end of the day, is that okay, or is it going to impact their attendance?
It's okay.
Alini? Yeah.
It's okay. They will be excused for those 2 periods. They are still going to be needing to complete the work, and the teachers may be calling them into success to be able to assist them and help them figure that out.
Okay. If there's incorrect information in Parent Square and the parents are having a hard time because they have to confirm their phone number, confirm their account, who do they contact to update their Parent Square information?
Phone number information that needs to be corrected can go through our registrar. So you can call the office and ask for the registrar. Her name is Joy Garcia.
Thank you. What did you mean by purchasing credit for Pathway?
That's a good question. So the courses that we have that are articulated with the local community colleges, we basically send our courses over to them, and they verify that our course is essentially the same course that they offer at their school. So if a student receives a certain grade, I think it's B or above, at the end of the course, then they're eligible for something called credit by exam. They don't have to take an exam. The exam is the fact that they've completed the course, and that makes them eligible for the credits. The only thing that needs to be done is a little bit of paperwork, and they pay for the credits. So just like any college, when you pay for your classes, you pay for the credits, and then they put that on their transcript at that school, and then the student has college credit.
Thank you. What is the deadline for registering for AP exams this year?
Alini.
A lot of the teachers are already working with the students in the classroom to have them join the class online and purchase or order the AP test. So you can go through our web store and pay for the test. From now until October, I believe you will have plenty of time, and we'll be sending more information on AP ordering. And I believe our final deadline will be sometime before the end of the year, 2021, not the school year.
Thank you. Is there going to be a law pathway in the incoming future?
We do have a, Law and Society program. And so that's something that you can join. And I believe If you are in Law and Society, you are also a member of the mock trial team. They are a competition team that does mock trial. And if you are in that, then you do receive a cord upon graduation. It's not a full pathway yet, but it's something that we're definitely moving towards. There are currently 2 full periods of that this year and growing.
Okay. Rubik's Cube Club, do we have one of those?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if we have that specific one. I know Mr. Feinstein is working on our list of clubs. We have a lot of different clubs on campus. I would encourage you to find the form, contact and fill out the form. Find an advisor, which will be a teacher, to oversee the club. You have to make sure that you apply for it and wait until it has been approved to move forward.
And in that new club form, in the officer field of the form, they know that the advisor means teacher. Is officer, is that referring to the student or something else?
I believe that would be the student.
And Ms. White, when do basketball tryouts start?
I'm not sure yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we can. We're just starting with our fall sports, so we're going to get them going first, and then we'll focus on the winter.
Great.
It's typically sometime in November, late October, early November, but again, make sure your Parent Square account is all good, because we'll send all that information through that and all of our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that kind of stuff.
And also make sure that you have your athletic clearance done ahead of time. So
yeah, I saw a question earlier that said, can I try out first and then get the clearance? And what's the answer to that, Mrs. White?
Absolutely not. It has to be completely clear prior to practicing or doing tryouts.
Okay. As far as clubs are concerned, if a student wants to launch a new club, can they have their parents sponsor the club along with a Mountain House High School teacher?
So I'm going to answer that one. The club has to have a faculty advisor, must have a faculty advisor. If a parent wants to volunteer, they're welcome to, speak with the faculty advisor about their desire to volunteer. And I'm sure, especially fingerprinted volunteers are very valuable to us. It does cost a little bit of money and takes a little bit of paperwork, but we love our fingerprinted volunteers because they can come and participate with kids. And a lot of times you parents have great expertise. For example, we have a robotics club this year, and they're going to be going to robotics competitions, and we will need parent help. Same thing with Science Olympiad. Tons of parent help needed. HOSA, DECA, all those clubs, it's essential. So yes, you can't be a sponsor, but you can definitely be a volunteer.
Thank you. How do people know which courses are eligible for credit purchase?
It's in the course catalog. So you can take a look at the courses in the catalog, and it will indicate in there in the description of the course whether it's purchasable. And it's typically our career technical education courses that you're going to find those. Mm-hmm. Currently, we don't have any other classes outside of the CTE pathways that are articulated for credit by exam.
Okay. Is joining a club helpful in college admissions?
Karen, you can answer that one.
I'd say it depends. You don't want to get overly involved. If there's something your student is really interested in, then joining a club can be helpful in the college admission process. Having a well-rounded student is always helpful in the college admission process. We encourage all of our students to go out and join clubs. It's a good way to kind of like get your interests, like feel out different things in high school and see what your interests truly are. Clubs, again, on the note of clubs, what's the process for starting a club associated with a nonprofit organization, especially a nonprofit organization working for youth development?
Helene?
I believe you go through the same process. You have to fill out the form and show to us all the information needed, and once it's the application goes through, then we can look at it, and the ASB will approve, or Mr. Feinstein will look through it and approve, or have more questions and reach out to the person in charge or requesting to start the club. So make sure that we fill out the correct form.
Thank
So
you.
Karen, we're going to take 3 more questions. It is getting late, and we'd all like to get home to our families. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming tonight. We're going to take a couple more questions if there are, and then we're going to sign off. So Karen.
All right. Well, right now we only have one more question. So
Great.
Can I do the athletic clearance now? I missed out.
Absolutely. You just need to go and get a physical, make sure it's clear. They will give you a form that you're going to scan and upload, and make sure that you show proof of insurance. So both documents need to be filled out and submitted before it gets cleared.
And you can go to athleticclearance.com. That's where we do our athletic clearances through, and you can find all of that information on our athletics page. Thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight. We always love answering questions. If you didn't get your question answered tonight, please reach out to us. I encourage you to take a look at all the videos for all of the all of the teachers that your children are with this year. We're so happy to have you back here on campus this year, almost 2,000 strong. It's really great being a part of the Mustang Ohana. Thanks, and have a great night.
Bye.
This engine 6000 keeps air cubes inside.